Most people think rock and roll was about freedom. It wasn't. It was about what you were willing to pay for it. 20 photos. Some of these people paid everything. A few of them didn't even know what they were paying until it was gone. A few of these shots show you the price tag. Watch for them. Dali called Cooper. Not the other way around. The most recognizable surrealist of the century tracked down a rock singer from Detroit because Dali believed Alice Cooper was the only artist in America paying the same price he was, being called dangerous, degenerate, incomprehensible, and doing it deliberately. They collaborated on a hologram project that never finished and a necklace built around one of Cooper's teeth that Dali wore to dinner parties for years. 2 worlds, 1 price, same choice. People look at this photo and see 2 rock stars playing tourist. That's not what this is. By 1976, Bowie had frightened himself badly. The persona had taken over to the point where Bowie wasn't sure who was underneath. Iggy Pop was in worse shape. So they did something that made no sense. They took a train into the Soviet Union, a country that officially banned both of them. During the journey, by most accounts, Bowie kept the curtains drawn the whole time. He didn't want to be recognized. He wanted to disappear long enough to remember who he actually was. The Berlin albums came out of that trip. Running saved them both. Highway to Hell was still a year away. Bon Scott and Angus Young were doing this for almost nothing. Vans, bad venues, 4 hours of sleep. And Scott poured everything into it every single night anyway. That's the only way he knew how to do it. There's a moment later in this set that connects directly to Scott's story. When we get there, it lands differently. Hold on to it. The Rolling Stones shot an entire concert film in 1968. The Who, Jethro Tull, John Lennon, the whole thing. And then Jagger locked it in a vault for 25 years. The reason, by most accounts, Moon and Townsend had outplayed the Stones so badly that Jagger refused to release his own movie. Moon was gone by 1978. The film came out in 1996. Moon never knew it existed. This is Pink Floyd, when Syd Barrett was still the band. Still writing the songs, naming the direction, holding everything together. Within 12 months, Barrett was gone, and the remaining 4 spent the next 4 decades trying to understand what they owed him, whether they'd failed him, or whether the outcome was simply unavoidable. When Shine On You Crazy Diamond first hit you, did you know the full story behind it yet? Or did you find out after and have to go back and listen again from the start? Queen's jazz album came out in 1978, and the critical response was brutal. The music press said Mercury and the band had lost the plot entirely. The label was nervous. Mercury's answer to all of it was to walk out every single night and perform like the doubt didn't exist. That's not confidence. Confidence is easy. What Mercury had was something harder, a refusal to adjust. 3 women who were told by actual industry people, repeatedly and on the record, that female rock artists didn't sell. Quattro had been hearing it since the early 70s. Jet got rejected by 23 labels before putting out I Love Rock and Roll on her own label. Harry watched Blondie get categorized as punk, then pop, then new wave. Anything but what Harry actually was. The best in the room, every time. All 3 of them. Dylan, Patti Smith, Rolling Thunder Revue, 1975. Two outsiders who paid for their entire careers by refusing to be anything else. This is Deep Purple without Ian Gillan or Roger Glover. Most people don't know this lineup existed at all. 6 months after this photo, Gillan walked in and sang Child in Time on the first take. The band that existed in this photo barely survived. Phil Collins on the left. He's the drummer. That's the entire job description. What nobody in this photo can see, including Collins himself, is that Gabriel is 3 years from walking out, and Collins is 3 years from becoming one of the best-selling solo artists of the decade. The price Gabriel paid created a door Collins didn't know was about to open. Halfway through, the second half is quieter, but the price gets higher. Clapton in 1968 was the name everyone in rock knew. Garcia was a cult figure at best. 40 years later, Garcia's influence on American music ran deeper than Clapton's ever did. I'm not sure Clapton would disagree. And here's the thing about Plant in 1983 that connects directly back to that photo of Bon Scott. Scott poured everything in until there was nothing left. Plant was in a different kind of emptiness. Bonham was gone, and Plant didn't know if he had a career anymore. Collins called him. Just said, "Whatever you need." Collins played drums on Plant's first 2 solo albums, quietly between Genesis tours and his own solo records. Plant said later that Collins basically saved him. That's a friendship that cost Collins nothing and meant everything. Ray Davies and Dave Davies hadn't been able to stand each other for years by 1972, and the Kinks were still making records. Brothers who genuinely couldn't be in the same room without it becoming something, kept writing songs together anyway. I've read several versions of why they kept going. Honestly, none of them completely add up. I think even Ray Davies doesn't fully know. Seeger spent a decade being huge in Detroit and invisible to the rest of the country. Night Moves changed that in 1976. By 1977, America was catching up to what Michigan already knew for 10 years. Heart got written off by the industry twice. Too hard for pop radio, then too soft for arena rock. Ann Wilson had one of the 5 best rock voices of her generation and spent a decade fighting for the right to use it without being told what shape to put it in. You'd hear Barracuda come on the radio in someone's car, and everyone just went quiet. That doesn't happen anymore, where a song comes on and a whole car stops talking. I miss that. This is Brian Johnson's AC/DC, not Scott's. And that distinction followed Johnson everywhere he went for years. Every review, every interview, every night on stage. Johnson knew what the comparison was when he took the job. He knew what it would cost him. He did it anyway, and Back in Black sold 50 million copies. 50 million. Johnson paid the price and delivered anyway. By 1983, Fleetwood Mac had survived more breakups, lineup changes, and personal disasters than most bands go through once. Nicks and Fleetwood were still there, still selling out arenas. That's not luck. That's a decision made over and over. Slade wrote songs that sold tens of millions of records worldwide and never broke America the way they should have. Quiet Riot covered Come On Feel the Noise and Mama We're All Crazy Now, and had bigger American hits with them than Slade ever did, with Slade's own songs. That is one of the genuinely great injustices of that era. Where do you stand on that? Ritchie Blackmore fired most of Rainbow's members at least once. By 1982, he'd gone through so many lineups, the band was essentially him and whoever was still willing to take his call. I find that exhausting. The musicians who passed through paid for his standards. I never saw AC/DC live. I had the chance. Fly on the Wall tour, mid-80s. I was in the right city and the tickets were there. And I didn't go. I can't reconstruct the logic now. Johnson is still out there playing, but that specific band, that specific era, the one where Johnson was proving something every single night, that version is gone. Some prices you pay by not showing up. Every person in these photos paid something to stay who they were. The ones who didn't pay anything, you don't remember their names. Did you ever watch someone perform like they had nothing left to lose and walk away knowing you'd seen something real? Where were you?